저의 명성입니다. 반갑습니다. 네, 오늘 특별히 대기업과 스타트업의 상생 대표 사례인 퀄키에 대해서 이야기 나눌 수 있게 돼서 영광이고요. 오늘 사례가 우리나라 창조경제 활성화와 대기업과 혁신 스타트업의 상생에 있어서 중요한 통찰을 전해드릴 수 있는 자리가 되길 기대하고 있습니다. 자, 그럼 민간활동 창조경제 추진단이 주최하고 전국 경제인연합회 GE코리아 그리고 사단법인 벤처기업협회가 후원하는 미국 퀄키 창업자 및 GE 가전부사장 초청 세미나를 시작하도록 하겠습니다. 첫 번째 순서로 주최기관인 민간활동 창조경제 추진단 이승철 단장님의 인사 말씀이 있겠습니다. 큰 박수 모시겠습니다.
창조경제와 싹트기 시작한 대한민국에 와주신 벤코프먼이 퀄키 CEO와 케빈 놀란 GE 어플라이언스 부사장님께 감사드립니다. 사람이 살면서 몇 가지 아이디어가 많이 떠오르는데 그것을 현실화시켜주는 기회는 거의 없다고 생각됩니다. 어쩌면 우리는 수천만 수억 개의 아이디어가 세상에 나타났지만 실제로 현실화되는 것은 없이 그래서 세상에 살고 있는 것도 모른다고 생각합니다. 그렇다고 해서 퀄키는 꿈을 현실화시켜주는 꿈의 서비스, 즉 우리가 즐겨 쓰는 꿈은 이루어진다 를 만들어주는 꿈의 공장이라고 생각합니다. 퀄키에 대해서 앞으로 쭉 설명을 드릴 테니까 따로 말씀드릴 필요는 없고요. 저는 사실 퀄키의 비즈니스 모델이 한국에 성공하기 위해서는 한국의 문화가 조금 개선돼야 된다고 생각합니다. 첫 번째는 뭐냐면 아이디어부터 기술 개발, 또 생산, 또 판매까지 이루어진 쭉 일련의 공정이 하나의 협업입니다. 근데 우리는 참 동업이 힘든 문화입니다. 그래서 아이디어를 가진 사람과 디벨롭하는 사람과 만드는 사람과 또 하는 사람의 그런 일관된 그런 협업 팀플레이가 굉장히 중요한데 그것의 문화가 굉장히 부럽다고 생각합니다. 마지막으로는 아이디어라고 하는 것은 굉장히 지적재산법을 도하기 어렵습니다. 저는 제가 옛날에 논문 읽어보면 심지어는 남한테 부전으로 들은 것도 밑에 레퍼런스 했습니다. 내가 이런 얘기를 누구로 들었는데 이런 분께 감사한다 하겠습니다. 근데 그런 지적재산권의 보호나 굉장히 부족한 것 같아요. 이 정도 좀 되면 훨씬 더 이런 퀄키와 같은 플랫폼이 가능하다고 생각합니다. 어쨌든 그런 것이 다 되는 걸로 봐서는 미국의 비즈니스 문화는 우리 경제에 굉장히 충격을 줄 수 있고 또 그런 자극이 창조경제의 기반이 될 것으로 생각합니다. 우리나라에서도 한국 사람들이 굉장히 창조적인 국민이라 생각합니다. 많은 창조적인 아이디어들이 나와서 플랫폼에서 생산되고 판매되는 그래서 세계적인 제품까지 나올 수 있는 그런 계기가 됐으면 좋겠습니다. 앞으로 아래로부터 다양한 혁신의 시장을 예측하기 어려울 정도로 변화시킬 것이기 때문에 그런 예측이 어려운 우리의 미래를 이끌어갈 중요한 비즈니스 모델을 듣게 된 기회가 저는 매우 영광스럽다고 생각합니다. 이 자리를 통해서 퀄키와 GE의 생생한 오픈 이노베이션 성공 스토리를 보여주기를 부탁드리고 오늘 많은 분께서 참석해 주셔서 대단히 감사합니다. 감사합니다.
네, 감사합니다. 다시 한번 좋은 말씀 주신 이승철 단장님께 큰 박수 부탁드리겠습니다. 네, 이제 본격적으로 행사를 시작하도록 하겠는데요. 오늘 첫 번째 발표는 벤코프먼이 퀄키 CEO의 강연입니다. 여러분들 다 아시다시피 퀄키는 특정 단체, 기업뿐만 아니라 개인 누구나 아이디어를 제안하고 아이디어를
Hi everyone, thank you for having me here. It's an honor to be able to tell you about Quirky and the importance of inventing. So to start out the program, I'd like to show you a quotation from a guy who you may have heard of. He said, "We haven't created a meaningful new category or brand in quite some time." The person who said this was the CEO of P&G, and he said it about a year and a half ago. Analysts were asking him why his company wasn't doing well. And he said, well, it's because we haven't created anything new or meaningful. The punchline to this story is that this guy no longer has his job. And P&G has a new CEO. The importance of inventing is quite profound, and that's what Quirky represents. So before I tell you about Quirky, I'm going to tell you about me. I was a terrible student. I was the worst student you could possibly imagine. So bad that I was sitting in the back of math class my senior year in high school, trying to figure out a way to listen to my iPod Shuffle without my teacher realizing that I wasn't listening to her. I had this idea for a lanyard headphone to conceal the wires, so all the distance I needed to clear was from here to here. I went home, I prototyped this product out of ribbon and gift wrap, and I thought it was the best idea in the world. I thought the only thing standing in the way of this one little product being a huge mass market success was a little bit of money. Most inventors think the only thing standing in the way of their great idea is a little bit of money. So I convinced my parents to remortgage their house. My parents took all the equity out of their home, handed me $185,000, and I got the next flight to China before my high school graduation. I landed in Shenzhen, and maybe 72 hours later realized that all the things standing in my way had nothing to do with money. That inventing is really, really hard. Making a product is really, really hard. Nonetheless, I did get that product out, and I was able to start my first company, which was called Mophie. And Mophie was named after my two dogs, Molly and Sophie. You may know Mophie today as the company that makes the Mophie juice pack, which is the iPhone case with a built-in battery in the back. Mophie's a big business on its own, but I'm no longer involved. I sold Mophie back in 2007 because something was bothering me. I realized that I was able to get through this process, but that wasn't easy. I was sitting on a subway in New York, and I looked to my right, and there was this woman. And I don't know who she was or where she came from, but she was wearing the product that I designed in high school. And that was the best feeling in the world. Oh my God, I made that! Now immediately concurrent with that feeling, I realized that I wasn't unique about the fact that I had a great idea. See, we're all inventors. We're all kids with tinfoil jetpacks. But at some point, we stop inventing. Every single human being in the world is an inventor. But we stop because invention is hard. It is hard to build a product. So right there on that subway, I realized that I was lucky that I was able to have Mophie and get my product out. But good ideas should not be left up to luck. Good ideas should be into the world just because they're good, not because they're good from a person that has the means to be able to do it. So I recognize that the only way we move forward as a people is through invention. Invention is really important. These are all the different things you need to know just to push one product into the world. So when I started Quirky 5 years ago, I did it with a simple mission statement. Only 3 words. These 3 words guide our company every single day. They guide every decision we make. To make invention accessible. To make sure that every great idea in the world ships, regardless of who it came from and so on. We're based in New York. That's where our headquarters is. And if you look in New York, there's a beautiful building. It's called the Empire State Building. And it's one of the most iconic buildings in the world. We're incredibly inspired at Quirky that it took less than 410 days to build the entire Empire State Building. Think about how little happens in most companies in 410 days. But some of the most iconic work was done in the shortest amount of time. This is a simple potato peeler made by an American brand. It took them 4 years to make this potato peeler. So 410 days to build the most iconic building in the world, 4 years to build a simple consumer product. Invention today is broken. At Quirky, we launch 3 brand new consumer products every single week. We launch a product every Tuesday at 12, every Thursday at 12, and every Friday at 12, regardless of what's going on in the world. 3 brand new products. We're just a bunch of people locked in a glass conference room in New York. So how does Quirky work? Well, people come to our website and they submit their ideas. Now, people have all sorts of different ideas at all sorts of states of completion. So some people have ideas that are just a prototype or a patent. Some people have fully fleshed out things that are ready to go into production. But the large majority of our community just has a thought. Hey, wouldn't it be cool if we made a better spoon or a smarter air conditioner? And then the world votes. We get about 4,000 product ideas a week. 4,000 ideas for brand new products every single week. The world votes on which one is the best. They vote, they rate, they comment, and every week we're able to surface to the top what the best ideas of the week are. We then work with our global community of close to 1 million people to turn that idea, which is just an idea, into a finished product. The community helps us do everything. Best way to describe how Quirky works is to tell you the story of one of our products. This guy right here is a goofy-looking dude named Jake. Jake came from the Midwest in the United States. And he went home one day and had a problem. He looked on his floor and he realized that he couldn't fit all of his power breaks into his power strip. The power strip had 6 outlets, but he was only using 2 or 3. So he did a little bit of research. He said, what if we could make an articulating power strip, a power strip that pivoted? Now he submitted that idea to our website, and the world voted on it. It made it to our Thursday afternoon product evaluation meeting, where we debate and discuss what the top ideas of the week are every single week. Luckily for Jake, he made it through that meeting and was crowned a Quirky inventor. The community then started working on his product. Everything from design to engineering to colors to taglines, all of these different things that the community is helping with. Even naming has been turned into a game, where you can literally help name our products. When we come up with a product idea, there's literally 7,000 names submitted and almost 150,000 votes on which is the best name. Eliminating all politics within the company because we have the data as to which name is the best. Something as simple as naming, just transformed by online technology. Now, we don't just leave the community alone. We help them. We have one of the most state-of-the-art product design and development facilities right in the heart of Manhattan. We hire some of the best and brightest engineers and designers. This right here is the first test print of Jake's product, done on an Object Connix 350 3D printer. We brought Jake's product through all the regulatory commissions. We set up production lines. And finally, Jake's product became a reality. The first pivoting power strip in the world called Pivot Power. Now, we didn't stop there. We had more work to do. We had to design packaging. We told the story of Jake's product on the package. You put his photo, so everyone knows that this product was invented by someone just like them. It wasn't just created inside of a company. It was created by a real person whose face is on the box. We got press for the product. We put it in some of the world's top retail stores. And then we started expanding the line for Jake. International versions of Pivot Power, ruggedized versions, travel versions. So one idea from one guy in the middle of the country became a whole global strategy and a full product line. It started small with just one person who we would have never heard of if we were a regular company. And now Jake is a millionaire. Quirky shares 10% of its revenue with its community. Every time one unit of a product sells, everyone gets paid. We're able to track down to a fraction of a percentage how impactful each and every community member is over the successful development of the product. So every time one unit of a product sells, close to 1,000 people get paid. For Jake's product, 709 people get paid every time one unit of that product sells. Now, I just told you the story of Jake, but we do this 3 times every single week. We launch 3 brand new consumer products every single week. We've done hundreds of products. We've paid millions of dollars to our community, and we're first getting started. We do all of this because we believe that the best ideas in the world don't come from the boardroom. They don't come from settings like this. The best ideas in the world come from the living room. They come from real people, real consumers. And we intend to be talking to those consumers, understanding what they want and when they need it, and responding to those demands. Now, Quirky started off making relatively simple stuff, and we've consistently sort of increased the complexity of what we've worked on. And nothing has helped that more than our partnership with GE. GE is one of the best invention companies in the world, probably the first invention company in the world. And they've agreed to help us and our community make invention more accessible. So while in the past you've seen Quirky make things like power strips and household items and things like this, in our partnership with GE, we're going to make a lot more interesting stuff, real electronics and groundbreaking invention. It's exciting to be here in Korea, and the main reason for my visit, it's great to be talking to you guys, of course, but the main reason for my visit was to meet the team at GE that's been working on Quirky. And the main team at GE that's been working on Quirky is actually based right here in Seoul, at GE's Technology Center. It's led by this guy right here, John Su, who's the man. I'm going to show you now a product that we've developed from start to finish in less than 3 months. A community member on Quirky that used to work at the U.S. Department of Energy submitted an idea for a more energy-efficient air conditioner that would be smartphone-enabled and be predictive as to what you need. The GE team said, well, we make air conditioners, we can help you do that. And all of a sudden, we launched a product called Eros, which is the most beautiful air conditioner that I've ever seen. It's not just beautiful, though, it's intelligence inside, it's Wi-Fi, and it has some amazing predictive learning algorithms and intelligence inside of it that can really understand the user's habits and cool down environments in the most energy-efficient way. We've built an entire air conditioner with GE's help in less than 3 months. That's some Empire State Building stuff right there. I'm going to play you a video now.
I'm Kevin Nolan, Vice President of Technology at GE Appliances. We've been building air conditioners for a long time and really felt that there was an opportunity to do something different, do something new and unique.
The genesis for this idea started as I was driving through Northwest Washington, and each one of the apartments had a window air conditioner hanging outside of it. And I was thinking that they're probably wasting a lot of energy. They're probably running these things when they're not at home.
You know, I've always thought there's something that needs to be done, but we never could really figure out what.
So the starts really aligned with the development of the smart air conditioner. We had a fantastic inventor, former executive of the Department of Energy. We had a great partner in GE, who was one of the most trusted brand names in home appliances.
At Quirky, we are very excited today. The inventor is on his way. He's going to be stepping through the doors any minute, and we're going to unveil this invention to him for the very first time.
What we're going to show you here is the reinvention of an air conditioner.
In my wildest dreams, I never thought I would be looking at a finished product. When they unveiled it, I just had a warm feeling in my stomach that said, it's real, it's a real product. The smart window AC will save them money because they will not have to run it when they're not there or when they don't need to. They can remotely turn it on and off and adjust the temperature.
It's amazing, I think, what's been put together and what we create. And I think it's going to be really one that redefines what the category of air conditioning is and how consumers think about it.
I think I've always been sort of a creative person, but I don't think I would ever call myself an inventor until today.
Just a regular guy from Washington, D.C. in the U.S. said the world needs a better air conditioner. Submitted it to a website in less than 3 months. In time for the first heat wave to hit New York City, Quirky and GE was able to develop a completely revolutionary product. And again, we couldn't have done it without the GE Korea team helping out. So just to wrap up, a couple of thoughts about what makes Quirky work and how invention is going to happen in the future. The first thing is that constraints are king. One of the things I hate most in companies is when they say, oh, we need to take time to do it right. We need time to do it right. For some reason, companies think that if you go slower, the quality is better. I have so many examples to point at about the fact that that's not true. Again, the Empire State Building versus every other building that's being built right now. It was built the quickest, and it's probably the best. The first fighter jet built during World War II was built in 143 days. Great technology, great invention happens in a short amount of time, and it happens when you put yourself under tremendous constraint. Back in the U.S., when we built the Empire State Building, we were in a Great Depression, and our grandfathers and stuff didn't have jobs. So we needed to build the biggest building in the world to show them that we were going to survive and prevail. Constraints drive us to invent because we have no other choice. The second thing is that I made that drives participation. Remember when I was on that subway, when I had my first company, Mophie. When I saw that product I made, that was the best feeling in the world. Now, right now in most companies, the people that can say I made that are people like Kevin and Dong-Soo, engineers. That's it. Just nerds like that. Very few people can say I made that. But now the feeling of I made that is distributed. At Quirky, over 1,000 people say I made that to every single one of our products. This reduces the need to spend a tremendous amount of money on marketing because you have so many evangelists that are standing behind the product and loving it. The last part is that data obliterates politics. A lot of companies, it's about just moving up in the world and just finding a way to make yourself look good. At Quirky, there's no egos. All that matters is delivering the best product. And the way we know we're doing that is by looking at the data. But by the fact that we know that name got so many votes that has to be the best name. The best ideas in the world, again, don't come from the boardroom. So if you put all this together, people, communities, plus data, plus short time frames, and tremendous expectations, delivers invention. That's all I have. Thank you.
네, 다시 한번 좋은 말씀 해주신 벤코프먼 CEO님께 큰 박수 부탁드리겠습니다. 여러 가지 그 매체를 통해서 여러 번 들은 내용이긴 합니다만 직접 들으니까 좀 더 와닿는 것 같습니다. 일반인들도 이제 발명가가 될 수 있는 그런 필요하겠죠. 그런 조력으로서 GE가 나서고 있는 것 같습니다. 자, 두 번째 연설은 간단히 모시도록 하겠는데요. 케빈 놀란 GE
Korea for a lot of years, and I think it's the first time to have the opportunity to speak to a group like this. And I think a lot of that is thanks to working with 벤코프먼이 and the Quirky team. And what I'd like to talk about today is why is GE think it's important to work with a company like Quirky? Because I think if you look at the two, you really couldn't get much different. You know, we're a big established company. We've been around over 100 years. And we're a company that is at times slow. I think it's at times complex. And really, I think what we see in Quirky is much different. You know, what I like to think, you know, I've been working at GE for 25 years now, and it's a company that's 100 years old. But if GE was invented today, and I think we all need to think about this, if our companies were invented today, would we look more like Quirky or would we look more like GE? And I think that's a question we have to ask ourselves. And I know at GE we continue to ask ourselves that. Because the only way to stay around a long time is to keep reinventing yourself as a company. And I think what we've seen here is an individual that reinvents things daily and reinvents things at a pace that's amazing. You know, GE is a big company. We have business units. You look, we have some massive business units. You know, I come from GE Appliances. It's a smaller business unit. The team we have here in Korea works we have a larger team in Korea, but the specific team that we've been working with then comes from appliances. We've been here for a while. Do Soo-shin is our R&D leader. And I think we've got some amazing capability. And that's one thing GE does have. We have incredible capability, incredible technologies, that when there's a large problem, we're the kind of company that can come in and we can solve large problems. And we can solve them in a big way. You know, if you look at our brand is a very good global brand. You know, and it's one, you could ask that. Yeah, GE and Quirky. You know, what is GE doing? We've got a brand. I mean, why are we associating that brand with an interesting company like Quirky? And I think, again, it's when we want to be known as a company that can reinvent itself, that can be quick, and that can be a bit quirky. You know, because I don't think people think of General Electric that way. And we don't think of ourselves that way. And I think working with a company like Quirky is forcing us to think differently about ourselves. And taking us to think, you know, how can we not have a lot of politics? How can we not have bureaucracy? How can we move fast? And questioning some of the things that we do internally as a big company. So there's questions, why? Why work with them? I think so you can ask yourself those kind of questions. And that's why I think GE is finding it very important to partner with other people outside the company. Because much as Ben said, the best ideas don't happen in a boardroom, they happen in living rooms. The best ideas don't happen in your company, they're probably happening in other companies. And how do we get open to that as a big company, to really look for good ideas and be open? And it's not easy. Believe me, it's not easy working with a company like Quirky. You know, they challenge us, they push us, and I think, you know, if I look at what the team here, they probably worked harder in the last 3 months than they have in the last 15 years. But the funny thing is, yeah, it is true, I think. But the thing is, they feel great. I've never seen that team so energized and so happy because, again, it's about the product, it's about what we're getting done. So when we see that air conditioner, we're all proud because it's something different, it's something that solves problems, and it's something I think consumers are going to love. And that is universal. That's what people want to work on. I don't care what company you're in. That's what excites employees. And that's another reason why we think it's important. Because we want to bring great products to the market. And however we do that, however we have to work to do it, we're open to it. And I think that's one of the things I love working for GE, because it's that kind of company that's open, that's willing to try some things that are different. A big initiative that the company undertook about a year ago within GE is something that's called FastWorks. Okay? So we've seen GE, we have things that aren't as simple. Internally, we have a lot of processes, a lot of things that slow us down. Okay? If we look at our speed to market, we're not as fast as we need to be. So the company's undergone what we call FastWorks. And it's doing a lot of external benchmarking. We're doing a lot to look at what entrepreneurs do. Because as the company's gone and studied, they say the best people that don't have a lot of bureaucracy and know how to move fast are startups, are entrepreneurs. And what can we learn from them and bring inside? And whether it's how we bring product to the market faster, or how we work on internal issues, how we solve problems on the manufacturing floor, how do we solve finance instead of taking forever to evaluate something, how do we make decisions quickly? That's what FastWorks is about. It's something we've studied with people like Eric Ries and Lean Startup and other thought leaders out there as far as how they're looking at things. And I think that's good to read books about it. I think that's interesting. I've learned from books, but you don't really learn from books. You learn from doing. And you learn from working, and you learn from seeing how a startup really thinks. And I can tell you, no matter what you read, until we get there and start working with Quirky, we could never imagine how these guys really work. How do they do it? How does he come up with 3 ideas every week? You know, we couldn't imagine that. You know, we usually think in years, 2 years, 1 year is what we're used to. Well, what year is that product going to come out? He doesn't even talk about, I haven't heard him talk about years yet. Right? It has to move very, very quick because consumers want products now. And I'd say that's what FastWorks is helping us. So we're working externally, but we're also working internally with internal processes. And I think GE is starting to have a culture to ask a lot of questions. Why? Why do we have to put up with this? Why does things take so long? Why can't we do something a better way? And look also externally to show that, hey, why can Quirky do things so quickly and we can't? You know, what's the issue there? And that's what I love about our Korea team. I think they've also shown GE, we can't go that fast. You know, we've said that, hey, we can take this team here, whatever speed you want to operate at, we're going to operate at that speed. We'll take the challenge on, and we'll execute. And I think it's been just fun kind of proving to Ben that we can move that fast, but I say what's been more important is we're proving to ourselves that, yeah, we can do it. We can move that fast. You know, in FastWorks, we have a framework that we're using within GE. GE loves process, so we try to take things that seem different and we put a process to it. And, you know, what this is all about is basically, how do you learn to fail? Okay, that sounds odd, is we actually want to be better at failing within our company. Because you can spend forever being perfect. And it's just, you're never going to be perfect anyway, so how do you just get there faster? Fail early. It's much what Ben was talking about. You know, that taking a long time actually is a lot more risk and typically delivers worse results than if we can go fast, if we can fail, and then we can try again. So we're putting this in place. We're trying to do this with all of our new products. We're trying to, whether it's how we develop an air conditioner with Ben or how we do a big steam turbine, gas turbine, aircraft engine, we're really trying to see how can we use this methodology to learn quicker and learn what does the customer want and are we building the right product. And at the bottom, I can't read Korean, but hopefully it does say, you know, the worst thing to work on is a product that nobody wants. And I've done that before. I know Doug Sue and I have worked on products, you know, we'll spend 2 years and we hide behind a door. We don't have glass walls. We have gates and fences and badges. And we don't let people see what we're doing. And then we bring the product out to market. And lo and behold, it doesn't sell. And I think that's probably happened to everybody in this room if you're in the product business and you make products. And the key to that is get things out in front of customers early. And I think what Ben does is just incredible. Where, you know, he talks about even how you name a product. He's in front of the customers every day. If you guys go onto his website, you can see everything that he's doing. It's completely transparent, completely open. And I'd argue he'll keep ahead of everybody from innovation because of that. You know, and I think as companies, we're used to protecting, but I think there's going to be a new way of doing business about openness and collaboration and partnerships. And we're trying to learn that, and I'd say we're at the beginning stages, but the company from the chairman down has really looked at how do we embed this culture. And I think they're looking at the work that we're doing here with Quirky as a test. And I think, you know, what we're trying to prove, I know myself and Ben and Doug Sue, is we're trying to prove that this is really the best way to work. And this is kind of the way the future should look. You know, how did we really get involved with Quirky? We have a GE Ventures group that does make investments and invests around themes. You know, the key theme is this open innovation. And I think that's where, you know, we got involved with Quirky. We're doing a lot from advanced manufacturing. So what GE is good at is picking what we think the themes of the future are. You know, make investments in those areas, work with thought leaders in those areas. And, you know, I think that's just something that the company looks to. Invest in people that not only we feel are good, sound investments, but ones that we can bring something to from GE, but also we can receive and that we can learn from. And that's part of what I think our GE Ventures group is really, you know, changing to and moving towards. You know, I think what we talked about is, you know, how does a big company work with Quirky? What's been amazing to me is how we each have roles to play. And it's one where we didn't spend a lot of time with a typical org chart, you're going to do this or you're going to do that. What Quirky's all about is what's the product? And then we just looked at who can do what. And it was a team sport. You know, where everyone just got involved. Whoever needs to do something, if we had the right solution, we brought them to bear. And that's how we became here in Korea. Ben never said come to Korea, but we knew we had some problems. And I said, hey, I got a team that can solve those problems. And we can solve them in quick order. And it was, to me, one of the best projects I've seen in a long time of co-working and working together. And these are people I've never met before. 3 months ago, I didn't really know Ben. Dunsu and I went to Ben's office. Within about 20 minutes, I think we decided, hey, we're going to do this project. And then he never asked who's going to do what. We don't have an org chart. We don't have any formal Gantt charts. We didn't use any of these program management tools that I think we've all been taught. None of that exists. All that existed was phones, cell phones, email, text message, and an attitude of get things done. And I think that's what's important. And that, I think, as we go forward, there's definitely things that GE is good at. And I think it's, you know, it's one where I think it's humility is one of the big things that's important for a big company. You know, we have to be humble. You know, we can't get full of ourselves. We can't think we're around for 100 years. We have to be humble and look at how a company like Quirky can teach us more in 3 months than I think I've learned in years. And I think that's an important lesson for a lot of us going forward, is just having that open mind and thinking there's probably better and different ways of doing things than we're currently doing. So that's all I have. I think we've got some time for questions. Ben, you're going to come up.
Can I do that? Okay. 네, 감사합니다. 자리를 좀 마련해 주시고요. 자, 질의응답과 종합 토론 시간입니다. 여러분들 질문하실 내용이 있으시면요, 손을 들어서 주목을 받아주시고요. 주목을 받으신 분은 반드시 소속과 성함을 말씀해 주시고 어느 분께 어떤 질문을 하실지 말씀해 주시면 되겠습니다. 저희들이 질문을 드리도록 하겠습니다. 예, 앞쪽에서 아까 손 들어주신 분 질문 주시면 되겠습니다.
예, 저희 벤한테 질문하고 싶고요. 벤 대표님한테. 저희도 한국에서 퀄키와 같은 그런 크라우드 소싱 기반의 플랫폼을 오픈한 파인딩 에디슨이라는 그런 플랫폼의 운영자입니다. 혹시 나라마다 그런 문화가 다른데 한국이나 이런 아시안 쪽으로 진출할 계획은 혹시 있으신지 궁금하고요. 또 하나 퀄키가 4년 동안 굉장히 급성장했는데 지금 퀄키에서 가장 중요하게 생각하는 것은 무엇인지 궁금합니다.
Yeah, I mean, Quirky's mission is to make invention accessible. That doesn't have borders. You know, we want to make invention accessible to people in all languages. So I anticipate we will be expanding into different regions. We don't have any specific time frames or plans right now, but you know, we've already localized the platform in French, and we'll be in German within the next 2 months, and you know, I think a lot of the Asian countries will be next. So.
네, 다른 질문 좀 해주시기 바랍니다. 네, 저쪽 뒤쪽에 마이크 드리겠습니다.
네, 안녕하세요. 저는 CNS 스마트 커머스 팀에서 근무하고 있는데요. 퀄키사를 보다 보니까 아이디어만으로 이렇게 제품 시제품들이 나오기에는 많은 비용이 나올 것 같습니다. 디자인으로나 아니 제품 진짜 생산하는데 그런 비용적인 부분에 대해서 어떻게 해결하셨는지 좀 궁금하고요. 그 다음에 이게 좀 거기까지
For the air conditioner specifically, or all Quirky products?
모든 커피 제품에 대해서 판단해 주시면 좋을 것 같습니다.
Oh yeah, we finance every project. So we've done. Obviously, we have at this point we have revenues that support a lot of that, but in the previous 4 or 5 years, we've raised a lot of money from venture capital firms and so on to get the business off the ground.
I'd say my experience in product development is one of the things that Quirky is, they're very efficient. So if you look at the amount of waste, and you talk about lean, is these guys are extremely lean. So that's, I think, one of the things we're learning is how focused they are on where value add is, and that's all you see. Where there's no value add, you don't find that at Quirky.
I mean, if you look at the difference of how we do things, Nest had, I think, 600 employees, and they made 2 products. Quirky makes 3 products per week with 200 employees. So it's very efficient.
네, 가운데 쪽에 추가 질문 있으시나요?
예, 지리 케빈 부사장님한테 보고 싶은데요. 지리가 지난 한 몇십 년 동안에도 사업 조정을 상당히 많이 했는데 되게 첨단 쪽으로 옮겨가고 다녔는데 가전 사업으로 갖다 끝까지 지키는 이유를 좀 하나 알고 싶고요. 두 번째는 그럴 경우 가전 하면 우리가 생각하는 게 지가전은 냉장고 아니면 뭐 에어컨디셔너 이런 건데 기존의 그 가전 사업 내에서 그 아이템들을 계속 유지만 할 건지 아니면 뭐 요즘 뭐 LCD, TV 나온 것처럼 새로운 그 가전 아이템 영역 쪽으로 좀 넓혀갈 계획이 있는지.
Okay, well, first is that question you asked the appliance person. So the reason I think we retained it is that it is the most important division within GE, in my opinion.
I agree.
But I think, what GE looks at is the appliance division it has one thing is that, especially in North America, it's what people think about. They think about GE appliances and GE lighting from a brand in. So it has a very important brand impact on the General Electric company. I think the other thing that GE appliances is being used for, and I think is useful, is a place where we can experiment, we can try things. It's a short cycle business, it moves quickly. If you're going to do a new jet engine for an aircraft, it takes years to do that. But we can try things and we can try different experiments, and especially from an advanced manufacturing standpoint, it's a great place to learn. And I think GE as a big company is really focusing on the appliance division to be on the forefront of trying things and experimentation and learning new things. I think that's why we're sitting here with Quirky. So it's an important part of GE, even though it's small. If we can learn a lot and take these learnings across the company, I think it has big meaning. What I hope as an engineer, and I like to think I'm an inventor, I like to, that's why I love working with this guy, is we have to keep reinventing ourselves. We have to, move into new areas. And I think a lot is, innovation is what we're about. I think when we learn on how we can be better innovators, it's going to give us a good, strong future. So, I think GE's continued to reinvent itself, and that's why we're here. That's why we're continuing to work. We've got great talent to do that with.
네, 다른 질문 있으십니까? 네, 앞쪽에 마이크 드리겠습니다.
Okay, my name is Ryan, and I work with the KPMG. I just got a question for Ben. So I believe you have launched lots of products so far, and the Pivot Power, I think, is the most successful product that you have launched so far. And what do you do with the failures, the fallouts, and the coffee products?
Well, I mean, there's very few products that we spend money on unless they are going to be somewhat successful, right? There's when I say building 3 products a week, but the 3 products we're building, that represents less than 1% of the submissions. So you have to believe that greater than 1% of the submissions are good ideas. So very few products have been a disaster in terms of profits and stuff like that. maybe I can count them on one hand, 5 products that we probably shouldn't have made in the last 5 years, and we've built hundreds of products. So hopefully that answers your question.
I think a model that we enjoy with Quirky is they almost validate things before they ever start working on them. People have to vote on them, there has to be interest in them. And I think that's different than the way a lot of us do product development. I mean, there's a big unknown, right, until you get it out in the market. Where they take that unknown out kind of day one.
네, 데이터를 기반으로 한 제품 제작이라서 그런지 아무래도 리스크가 좀 줄어있는 상태로 출시한 것 같습니다. 그래서 실패가 좀 적다라는 말씀을 해주셨는데요. 자, 다른 질문 또 있으시면 손 들어주시기 바랍니다. 저쪽 뒤쪽으로 마이크 전달해 주시기 바랍니다. 저쪽 뒤쪽. 네, 좀 먼저 하시겠어요? 네.
Thank you. My name is Dongju Yu, and I'm a director at Tide Institute, and we specialize in accelerating Korean startup companies to help them grow and expand globally, hopefully. And one of our main programs is called Tide Academy, which is education program for Korean entrepreneurs. And one person who took that program had his idea and selected on Quirky before, and however he mentioned that the idea isn't being developed as fast as he wants. So I wanted to ask you, in case of originating abroad, whether Quirky had implemented the method to speed up that the development process. In other words, what kind of services Quirky offered to support the ideas from other countries.
Sure. Yeah, it's a great point. One of the big misconceptions about Quirky is the fact that we move fast from when an idea is submitted to when it ships. We move fast to develop products, so we develop products very quickly. But sometimes we choose an idea because it was the best idea of the week. But we don't start designing it yet because it's not the appropriate time to push that product out into the real world. So a lot of times we'll select ideas because they're interesting and start working with that inventor, communicating regularly, etc. But we didn't really pick up the pencil yet to start designing it and engineering it and doing manufacturing. When we start that process, it goes very quick. It's 3 months, 6 months, and it's done. But it sounds like in the case of your friend's idea, it might have been a seasonal product or I don't know what it was. Do you remember what the product was?
I wasn't able to get much.
I mean, oftentimes in situations like that, it's like the person had an idea for a barbecue product, right? And that only sells during the summer, so we don't really start working on it until the winter or after the summer is over. So a lot of times there's that waiting period where people think we're going slow, but it's just because we haven't started yet. Hopefully that answers your question.
네, 차별하지 않는다고 합니다. 뒤쪽에서 아까 질문 주신 분. 네.
저는 한국에서 크라우드 펀딩 YG를 설립해서 운영하고 있는 신혜성이라고 합니다. 크라우드 소싱 비즈니스를 하면서 사실 사람이 많이 모이지 않으면 매우 어려운 비즈니스인데 이 부분을 스타트업으로 시작해서 초기에 사람들을 모으는 과정을 좀 구체적으로 어떻게 진행하셨는지 궁금합니다.
Great question. First of all, a slight correction. You never heard me talk about crowdsourcing. I don't think I run a crowdsourcing business. We run an invention company, and we work with community members all around the world to find great ideas and make them into real products. I think one of the problems with crowdsourcing is that it's the notion that the community is smarter than the experts. Right? It's the notion that, okay, the community will just figure it all out. Quirky is not that. Quirky is the understanding that both have their merits. Right? Sometimes the community can find a better answer than the PhDs and engineers, and sometimes the engineers can do better than the community, and we put those things together. Our partnership with GE is very symbolic of that. It's us saying, you know what, the community can't do everything. So that's the first thing, and I think crowdsourcing in creative endeavors like design and engineering is very unsustainable because you have lots of people doing the same work, and there's no way to reward all of those people for their work, so you're going to have a lot of fatigue and churn. Anyway, technicality. Moving back on track, we attracted our original community really by pushing out a product. And every week we launch more products, and it shows the world that our platform works. One of the problems with traditional crowdsourcing or crowdfunding platforms is you need to show success for people to trust you and for people to believe in you. So very early on we were focused on the product. We knew that if we developed great products, people would trust us with their ideas because they want to create a product just as good. And that's how it all started to, tumble into place.
네, 저희들이 듣기에는 이미 크라우드 소싱의 대표주자라고 듣고 있었는데 거꾸로 아니라고 하시니까 혼란스럽게 합니다. 자, 그러면 다른 질문 있으면 더 받아보도록 하겠습니다. 저쪽 끝에 마이크 주시겠어요? 끝에요.
벤 씨한테 좀 질문을 방금 말씀하셨던 거에 연관 현상에 대한 얘기 같은데 크라우드 소싱이 아니냐에 대한 부분을 명확하게 하기에는 좀 어려운 것 같은데요. 어쨌건 간에 굉장히 다양한 많은 사람들이 어떤 느슨한 연결을 통해서 시너지를 만들어가는 시스템인 것 같습니다. 그러면 관계된 다양한 사람들에게 어떤 식으로 동기부여를 하고 전체적인 프로젝트에 몰입하게 하고 참여시키게 하는지에 대한 디테일한 어떤 전략적인 측면, 아까 수익을 배분한다고 살짝 말씀하셨는데 그 이외에 많은 사람들을 참여에 동기부여시키기 위한 그런 방법론에 대해서 좀 여쭤보고 싶습니다.
Yeah, great question. First, we are very much focused on doing great work. When you create a culture where the only thing that matters is the great work and the great products that you're doing, that is something that is visible, hopefully, both internally at Quirky and externally to the world. And that motivates people right there. The fact that they can be a part of creating a groundbreaking product, that's pretty cool. And that type of opportunity hasn't existed in the world. To be able to work with a big company like GE, that's exciting for people. Whether or not they get paid for it, or they get a badge on their profile, or whatever it might be, they get to work on something really cool. Our financial incentives are something that we put in place because we believe in shared success. Quirky cannot be successful unless its community is financially successful. And our community can't be financially successful unless Quirky is. And so there's a very nice relationship there where we never think that the community is out to get us, and the community knows that we're not out to get them. Because again, if we don't keep them successful, then our revenues are going down as well. So that's where the shared incentive systems work.
네, 지금 퀄키에 대해서 계속 여쭤보고 있는데요. 제가 사회적 권한으로 제 질문 하나 하도록 하겠습니다. 케빈에게 좀 질문하고 싶은데요. GE가 보유한 다양한 특허 기술들 가운데 퀄키 회원들에게 특허를 공유한다고 하셨어요. 4, 5년 동안 파트너십을 맺었다고 들었는데 그 과정은 어떻게 되는 것이고 5년 후에는 어떻게 되는지 좀 알고 싶네요.
I'm not sure on after the 5 years. I think it's one where 5 years was chosen as just let's get moving and let's get started on this partnership. But I think it shows some different thinking from GE on how we do have a huge IT portfolio. It's very important to the company, and we continue to invest a lot in intellectual property. It's one we believe protected our intellectual property. But at the same time, it's how do we make sure that intellectual property is being used to the best way it can. And what we feel is opening that up and having a community like Quirky to let inventors see what's there and come up with new ideas that we didn't think possible. Because IP that's just locked, in a file cabinet that never gets built, what's the real value? So that's where we really think, Quirky can can help unlock some of the power of that IP and do things that GE never dreamed of.
Yeah, we're just getting started with that. We haven't really fully invested in that platform yet, and every month that goes on, GE sends us more and more patents to upload on the site. One of the challenges associated with the platform is, your average person can't read a patent and know what's going on. And so, just like there's interpretation happening in my ear, in order to really make that platform work, we have to interpret the technology and the patent out to the community so that they understand exactly what that's there, because otherwise it's just a bunch of legalese.
네, 다른 질문 있으면 받도록 하겠습니다. 저 뒤쪽에 보이시군요.
Thank you for your excellent presentations. I'm currently working in private-public partnership for creative economy initiative, task force team, where government officials and private entrepreneurs have gotten together to bring forth creative solutions to spur jobs in Korea. And my question is slightly not a direct question about your company or such a business. The corporate social value, so-called CSV, has become the topic of the day. And it has Quirky ever worked on any products related with that directly concerns corporate social values, such as trying to help the poor communities, both locally and globally? And my question is also, another question there is for Mr. Nolan. Now, technologies can be put to use to solve problems, especially in poor developing countries, globally and locally. And the appropriate technologies are such that can have a large impact in developing countries. But the major problem seems to be trying to distribute those products to markets when those social entrepreneurs are working to both trying to solve, create the problems of the community, while at the same time trying to reconcile the profitability. So can you suggest any creative ways that maybe you could reconcile profitability and also the concept of service and social values when those two things converge?
Yeah, you go first.
Yeah, I think, that's an interesting area. It's one personally, I'm very interested in. I think the G Appliance division, we really looked at that as how can we, just like we're working with Quirky, how can we bring technology? We're working with some interesting nonprofits. There's a nonprofit that's called WaterStep, and what this nonprofit does is provide very cost-effective, sustainable solutions for the water issues around the world. We were in the Philippines, we've been in Africa, we've been in India, and the solution they have is a chlorinator, and it's one where we've really looked at how do we engage with social entrepreneurs. But this is one where we redesigned that chlorinator. This thing used to cost $1,000. Our engineers spent time, and now it costs $140. It's one that we made sure it was open. It's open source. We made sure that it's available to anybody in the world. If you want to manufacture this, you can. And it's one that really what we got out of it was an engagement from our engineers. There's a lot of pride and work that went into working with that nonprofit. We just recently designed a new product. It's called the Water Ball. A big issue that people have in developing countries is women have to walk for miles and miles carrying water. So we've developed a product now that's a ball that you can just roll along that contains water. And so we're solving real problems for people around the world. And I think it's one that I want to do more of. I think that's kind of what the future is. How can we, just as we're taking products and letting inventors help, we can really work on social issues, because engineers like to solve problems. And I think that's what we like, having a group that's just involved in solving real issues for the world. Yeah, we're about making appliances. We need to be profitable. But at the same time, why can't we take that knowledge we have and put it to use in other areas? So I'd say it's an area that I think everyone should get involved in. I think I'm glad to hear the question on it. I think it's one that there's time and effort. It's very rewarding for us to work on.
Yeah, same at Quirky. One of the beautiful things about our 3-word mission statement, making invention accessible, is that it has no boundaries. And one of the things we're most excited about expanding globally for is, you know, there's amazing inventions in places that, you know, cannot be reached by normal businesses, and if we're able to, you know, roll out our platform to those areas, who knows how amazing his could be and how much of an impact it can have in the world. So by the very nature of what our business is, we do have social values, right? And that is, you know, to deliver to the world the best ideas. And I'm excited for us to start taking on more world challenges and less sort of household nuances.
네, 다른 질문 있으면 받도록 하겠습니다. 네, 그쪽 여성분.
네, 저는 그 기술 사업가 컨설팅 같이 일이 있을 이주연이라고 하는데요. 퀄키에서 그 참여자들을 통해 가지고 그렇게 제품이 나오면 그 특허에 대한 소유권 그거는 어떻게 이제 그 배분을 하는지. 그다음에 그 제품이 나오고 나면 실제로 사업화하는 주체를 퀄키에서 다 그거를 생산을 해낼 수는 없지 않습니까? 그럴 경우에 사업화 주체를 어떻게 찾는지, 그리고 거기에서 이제 개발된 그런 특허권들이 실제로 이제 사업화를 하기 위해서 라이센싱 과정은 어떻게 진행이 되는지 좀 듣고 싶습니다.
Oh, it's all very simple. It's very, very simple. When you submit your idea to Quirky, you own your idea until we select it as a product that we're going to move forward with. At that point, you transfer the intellectual property to Quirky. We own the intellectual property. We manage it. And in return for that, you get the perpetual royalty, that share of revenue that we go back to our community with. Now, Quirky does all the manufacturing, all the design, all the marketing, all the whatever upkeep, line extensions, etc. And that's it. It's very simple.
네, 답변 대전적으로인데요. 근데 질문이 너무 종합적이셔가지고 강의 내용을 전반적으로 이렇게 해주신 것 같습니다. 예, 새로운 질문 저쪽 끝쪽에. 네.
저널리스트고 최근용 몇 가지 간단한 질문 드리겠습니다. 이익을 기여하는다고 쉐어를 해준다고 그러셨는데 퀄키는 지금 수익성이 어떤지 이익이 지금 나오고 있는지 궁금하고요. 지위가 계시긴 하지만 삼성이나 LG 같은 한국 기업들이 제조 기술은 굉장히 탁한데 지위 외에도 한국 기업들 혹시 아시아 기업들 많고 제조하는 파트너십을 맺을 수도 있는지 또 한 가지는 지금까지 이제 제품 여러 가지 내놓으시는데 다품종 소량 생산이라는 의미거든요. 예를 들어서 뭐 1000만 대나 1억 대씩 만드는 그런 대량 생산 구조가 됐으면 저희는 그런 생산설을 어떻게 커버를 하셨으면
All right, let him keep the mic because we're going to have to go back and forth there. Let him keep the mic. So let's start with, what is your definition of mass production? How many units?
100만 대부터 할까요?
I mean, we ship over 3 million pieces a month. So we do mass production, I think, right? Yeah. So we do, you know, we sell tens of millions of pieces of product a year. The next one is on the profits. First, a correction: we don't share profits with our community. We share revenue with our community. So regardless of how profitable or less profitable a product is, the community gets the same cut no matter what the profitability of the product is. That's how we get community members to trust us. On the profitability of Quirky, our product business is profitable, although in the past year or so we've been investing heavily in a new startup, a connected division that we're doing as a joint venture with GE. So hopefully that answers all 3 questions. Is there a 4th? No more. Oh, the Samsung LG stuff.
answer that?
Listen, I've been very clear with you guys. Our mission is to make invention accessible. If there are companies that can help us make invention more accessible, we are happy to partner with them. That said, we're making appliances with GE.
네, 케빈의 입장도 한번 들어볼까요?
On which, on who to work with? You know, I think what Ben is a very open company, and I think that's the beauty of it. It is about openness. It is about bringing ideas out and inventions. I don't want to think he has to work with GE. You know, I want it to be that's where he likes to work, and that's where we can offer the most value. So I kind of hope he can work with anybody, but I want to be the best.
네, 두 분 다 참 열린 마음을 갖고 계신 것 같습니다. 큰 박수 부탁드리겠습니다. 네, 시간이 거의 다 되어가고 있어서요. 질문을 한두 개만 더 받고 마무리하도록 하겠습니다. 네, 가운데 질문 한번 받도록 하겠습니다.
네, 현대 홈쇼핑의 박지훈이라고 하는데요. 어쨌든 좋은 상품이 잘 팔려야 또 의미가 있을 것 같은데, 퀄키 같은 경우는 이제 미국의 QVC라는 큰 홈쇼핑 방송이 있는데, 그 방송과의 어떤 그 좋은 사례가 있는지 아니고 어떤 시간적인 알 수 있는 부분은 어떻게 보시는지 궁금하고요. 또 한 가지 GE 같은 경우 굉장히 좀 오래되고 전통 있는 회사인데, 그 퀄키랑 같이 선전돼 있어서 처음에 좀 내부적으로 좀 어려운 부분들이 있었을 거라고 생각이 들거든요. 그런 부분들을 어떻게 해소하시고 어떻게 잘 지금 좋은 파트너십을 이뤄가시는지가 궁금합니다.
So first of all, the channels were very open-minded on how to sell our products. And our first responsibility is to make money for our community and our inventors. And so when we talk about sales, we don't just talk about sales and channel. We talk about how much money our community made. So it sounds like you work at a TV selling thing. Is that what it is? Yeah. So in the U.S. we sell on QVC and HSN and the equivalent to that. And actually, it's one of our better channels because we're able to tell the story of how the product came to be. So yes, we are open-minded in that, and our Korean distributors are in the room in the back, so you can feel free to talk to them if you want. On hardship, listen, I mean, building a startup is all about hardship, right? There are challenges every day, and the success or failure of your company will be about how you get through that and live to see another day. I told people yesterday, my favorite quote about startups is, success at a startup is being alive tomorrow, lots of days in a row. And that's the way we run the company, just constant survival.
Yeah, I think, what I see with Quirky, I mean, we have daily, weekly problems. It's you get culture clash. It's a total different way to work. But I think what's kept things moving forward is a believing product. And I think, Ben and I have been just united. It's a great product. Let's go forward. And all these other things are kind of noise, and it's our job to get the noise out of the way and deliver product. So I think as long as you have a mission and you have a real idea, what are we about, then it's easy. Then you can kind of clear out what's not helping you and what is helping.
네, 이제 마무리되는 것 같습니다. 마지막 질문일 것 같아요. 네, 질문 갖도록 하겠습니다.
네, 아까 질문드렸던 크라우드 펀딩 완리지의 신혜성입니다. 이 행사를 우리 상무경제 추진단에서 기획해 주셨는데, 특별히 퀄키를 중심으로 해서 뭐 정부나 아니면 다른 밸류체인에 있는 다른 기업들하고 협력하고 있는 사례들이 영역별로 금융인건 금융 이런 식으로 해서 우리한테 좀 알려주실 수 있는 게 어떤 것이 있으실지 마지막으로 부탁 부탁드립니다.
제가 질문을 이해 못했는데 질문이 이해되는지 모르겠습니다.
예, 다시 말씀 좀 드리겠습니다.
네, 다시 한번 말씀 주세요.
정부에서 사실 이 퀄키와 같은 모델을 좀 여러 밸류체인 상에서 금융 섹터라든가 또 정부가 중재하고 또 제조 기반 이런 것들을 엮는 작업을 추진하고 계신 걸로 알고 있습니다. 그런 차원에서 퀄키가 어떤 스타트업으로서 시작을 해서 또 지위랑 연결된 것이 상당히 이슈가 되는 부분이 부분이라고 생각이 되거든요. 그런 차원에서 GE 말고 어떤 생태계를 만들어가는 차원에서 협업하고 계신 그런 채널들이 있으신지 그 부분이 좀 궁금합니다. 질문 이해되실지 모르겠네요.
저는 이해됐습니다.
감사합니다.
I do. I understand. I understand. I'll give you an answer. I hopefully have been clear with you guys all day today. The mission of Quirky is to make invention accessible. If there are partnerships, public ones, private ones, schools, with schools and institutions, with people that I've never met before, if there's ways to make invention more accessible to more parts of the world, it is absolutely something we're interested in. We have a very big mission for our company, one that I don't think will ever be completed. Invention will never be accessible, and all we can do is constantly make progress and make it more and more accessible every day. So we are very open-minded with who we work with, and GE is one of the first and more public people we've worked with, but we've worked with some of the best universities around the world. We work with distributors in all sorts of countries. Chris in the back is our Korean distributor who's done a great job of starting to build a brand here in a short amount of time. So partnerships is the way we further our mission. So yes, I guess. Okay.
네, 그러면 혹시 두 분에게 공통된 질문인데요. 한국의 이런 그 창조적인 발명가들이 많이 나올 수 있는 환경이 되려면 어떤 게 필요할까요? 간단한 조언 한마디씩만 듣고 마무리하도록 하겠습니다.
I think one is you got to be open-minded. I think it's one where you've got to be able to have big companies work with small companies, and big companies have to be more humble. I think big companies have to want to learn, and just because they might not be powerful, that doesn't mean you're actually the best. You know, just because you have a big market doesn't mean you're the smartest. You know, and I think it's just like whether you have the best education and you're a PhD and you went to whatever school you went to, that doesn't mean you're the brightest. I think that's what we've all got to think about, is really look at what merits are and be able to recognize when something has a good merit and a good idea and be open to that. I think that's hard. I don't care what country you are, that's not easy.
To me, there's only one difference between an inventor and a non-inventor. And that difference is the desire to do it. Anyone can invent, and you got to have the confidence in order to persevere. And really, I think if you want to have more inventors, the only thing you need to teach is confidence.
네. 두 분 쉽지 않은 질문에 아주 명쾌한 답으로 대답을 해주셨습니다. 두 분께 큰 박수 부탁드리겠습니다. 이야기를 쭉 들어봤는데요. 여러분들도 다 들어보셨듯이 열린 자세, 그리고 혁신하는 마음, 그리고 빠른 실행, 이런 것들이 시대의 화두인 것 같습니다. 자, 두 분께 인상 깊게 남았던 단어들 가운데 여러분들이 마음속에 두고 마음속에 품고 가실 수 있는 단어들 몇 가지 건져가시길 바라고요. 오늘 미국 퀄키 창업장의 GE 가전분사장 초청 세미나를 이것으로 모두 마치도록 하겠습니다. 감사합니다.